Hey guys, I'm Liana. I am a senior editor over at Game Informer, blog. And because you guys keep asking both in my emails and Twitter DMs and in comments on videos, which thank you guys so much, I appreciate you, we are talking about Dragon Age. More specifically, Dragon Age Inquisition, and why some of the critique kind of misses the mark, and some of it is right on the money. Disclaimer that I did on the Dragon Age 2 video. I obviously am a huge fan of BioWare, but my job entails me to be able to separate myself from my fandoms and my love. So just because I'm a fan of BioWare does not mean I'm not critical of it. I have been very critical of it in the past, but I've also helped correct incorrect criticisms at the same time, which there are plenty of both. And yeah, you can love something and still critique it. It's not mutually exclusive. You can also not enjoy something and esquisse that it is better than your personal experience. It works both ways. Dualism, duality. It's beautiful. So anyways, so today I wanted to kind of dive into that because you have to keep in mind I've worked at big properties like GameSpot. Obviously I'm at Game Informer right now. Phone is going crazy, so I apologize. So because of that, we kind of double up as community managers. So when I say that I have access to communities that are millions and millions of people and those microcosms, like 3 million for Game Informer, that means I'm seeing all of those hot takes daily. So I am pulling from the breadth of feedback I've seen, of critiques I've seen, of just hateful insults I've seen, and I'm pulling from conversations that I've had with both friends and in the comment section, because I am one of the stupid ones that actually ventures in there despite knowing better, but I like to hear what people think, and that is ruining my mental health. But whatever, we're moving on. It's fine. Everything's fine. But so one of the things that I've noticed is if somebody usually comes at when the discussion of Dragon Age Inquisition comes up and somebody's like, no, it's really stupid, it has no story, it's boring, it's usually, and 9 times out of 10 accurately, an indication that they never played past the Hinterlands, which is a trap that BioWare found themselves in with Mass Effect Andromeda as well, and even the first Mass Effect game a little bit towards the beginning of pacing issues. Dragon Age Inquisition actually has an incredible story. The way it ties into Dragon Age 2 is phenomenal. Kotaku wrote an article about play Dragon Age Inquisition first and then go backwards. And while I love Ash and I respect everything she has to say, and everybody perceives things differently, I could not disagree more. If you do not play Dragon Age Inquisition or Dragon Age 2, a lot of the things in Dragon Age Inquisition are not going to matter to you. That first moment when Varric walks up and flips Bianca on his shoulder all casually like, because he's a smooth rogue, that's not going to mean anything to you, because for you that's the first time you're meeting that character. Corypheus, who's the big bad, if you didn't play the Legacy DLC in Dragon Age 2, he's not going to mean anything to you either, and therefore the ties, there's a decision in Dragon Age Inquisition where you have to choose between Hawke and a warden. You can choose Loghain as the warden, Shroud as your warden, or even Alistair. And you have to choose between the two. And if you hadn't played through the previous 2 games, that choice is not going to matter. You're going to be like, sure, this dude, why not? Versus the people that played those, it's a really hard decision to make. I have a lot of playthroughs of Dragon Age Inquisition, and I still freeze up, even knowing what I'm going to pick before I start playing. I still freeze up when that moment comes. And it's insane to me because to pull away from the first 2 games and to tell people to miss those first 2 games, you're really setting up Inquisition to fail. Because what Inquisition is a tie to the trilogy thus far, therefore prepping it for the future of the Dragon Age series. We see that with Morgan and Flemeth. You can actually meet Morgan's son if you perform the ritual in Dragon Age Origins. You can meet her son. You can have a confrontation between the son, Morgan, and Flemeth in the Fade alongside the Inquisitor. You can meet Connor again. That's another thing if you don't play the original games. And it's not going to mean anything to you either. If you played Origins and you imported your saves in, when you're in Redcliffe, if you go out towards the docks, you can actually reunite with Connor and see him all grown up after his debacle of being possessed by demons. Like, there's so many tie-ins throughout the entire trilogy. There's references to Zephyrin. There's references to the books too. Like Stolen Throne is completely referenced. Also, Empress Celine's backstory with Briala is heartbreaking, and that's something that has context, but you're also not going to get the weight of what elves go through unless you play Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, which heavily talks about and delves into the fact that just elves are treated like shit. But I've noticed is the trap that BioWare fell into is it threw too much at the player too quickly. And that's, you know, Andromeda did this with Eos, which was the starting area there. I always call Eos the Hinterlands of Mass Effect because it's, my opinion, the Hinterlands is the most boring aspect of Dragon Age. I always, whenever I dive into a playthrough, I always just rush through as fast as I can. Sometimes I'll even enable cheats just to get through it fast, and then I'll take all the cheats off because I just can't stand how boring it is. But when you first play the game, you know, it's very heavily insinuated, like you need to do the side quest, you need to get as much support as possible, and if you don't do the side quest, you're going to miss out on a lot of support towards your war efforts, because you can actually recruit people as you do things for them. There's like one woman that you'll see kind of outside of a cave, and she's very easy to miss, but if you miss her, you can't bring her back to Skyhold, which leaves a lot less people to interact with and to hear the conversations, to kind of really get a feel for how Thedas operates as a society, as a people. And to me, that's one of the things that makes Dragon Age so special, is the world building. The world building in this game, and all three of the games really, even as short as Dragon Age 2 was, is so incredibly intense and immersive and never ending. Like every time you feel like you got a storyline down pat or you know everything about it, you'll find 10 sub-stories that relate to that. And every 10 sub-stories have 100 sub-stories behind that. It's great. If you're a lore lover like me, it's great. And Inquisition is built with the lore lover in mind, but with so many different just tedious quests, like escorting a Druffalo. If I was a newcomer to the Dragon Age series and the thing never follows you, never does what you need it to do, I'd be like, fuck this game, I'm out. Bye. But that was an issue that BioWare did. BioWare should not have... They should have eased people in. Like maybe, I think a better way they could have done it is have, you know, you go to Hinterlands and you go back to the war table, which you do. And then when you go back for resources, split it up a little bit. Like Dragon Age 2 had a lot of quests and things too, but they separated it by acts. And I think Inquisition could have benefited from that. By separating it by acts makes it a little bit less overwhelming, because if you do every side quest, I think my biggest playthrough, I did 100% completion. And I think I clocked, if not right underneath 200 hours. Like it's massive. So people that kind of have that open world fatigue, I'm just saying. So anyways, I think that that's a big issue. And I've noticed when I see that kind of comment a lot, I'll ask like, did you play past Hinterlands? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no, I gave up before that. Okay. If you don't do that, then you don't get to see the area where time stops and you have to unfreeze time, or going back or forward in time with Dorian if you choose to side with the mages, or if you choose to side with the Templars, which took me a couple tries to do because I've always had an affinity for the mages in this universe, but I wanted to see everything that happened. And that if you side with the Templars, you get Barris, which I love him to death, and you see a different side to the Templar Order as well. Not a sympathetic side, but understanding, which to me contributes to the understanding of the world in its entirety, which I think is beautiful. And I think that people don't realize, because BioWare didn't really do a great job at consolidating and guiding the player through what needs to be done. It's kind of all thrown at you at once. And then the war table mechanic was just ridiculous, because you couldn't, there were, you know, the later and later you get in the game, you have to, like, there's some quests that you turn it in and you have to wait like 24 hours before it's finished. I always, if you play this game, I highly recommend you play it on PC. There are some amazing mods. I mod the shit out of my game. But more than that, you can actually toggle off the waiting at the war table missions, which to me has been an absolute game changer in how it plays, the progression. It makes it feel more natural. It makes it feel more fluid, because we're not in the real world. We can fast travel through that kind of stuff. If we can fast travel in games, we can fast track the war table missions, because there's so many things that if you don't do the war table mission for it, you're blocked off from that area, whether it's building a bridge or solidifying peace between a clan or whatever. If you can't complete that, if you get fed up with the war table times, you're going to be missing out on a lot of content and a lot of context about what's going on. And I feel like one thing that Dragon Age Inquisition does really well is it tells a story in a way that it makes you feel like this mounting pressure. You do feel like the Inquisitor. You feel that mounting pressure. You feel like, am I doing enough? Am I doing it in the right order? Am I going to succeed? Am I going to fail? And I think that's vital to this. Honestly, I think it's absolutely vital to the Dragon Age experience, especially with how it ended. One thing too I'd really liked about Dragon Age Inquisition is that it shows that we don't really know a lot. You know, a big thing with Dragon Age is the Dalish, are the elves that are free roaming, and they have to move from location to location because, again, humans, Qunari, they're not elf friendly. And they're kind of seen as a subservient race. They're actually enslaved in Tevinter. And they're trying desperately, and we definitely saw this again. The reason why I say don't pass on Dragon Age 2 is with Meryl. Her entire story arc centered around trying to find the real history of her people. So much so that you could even potentially accidentally kill her entire clan because that search became so hyper-focused that she wasn't really being as aware of the danger that she thought she was being aware of. Sorry. But so I think that too, with this Dragon Age Inquisition, pulling from the elves history, is we learn a lot about elves that we didn't know. We thought Tevinter was the reason that Arlathan fell. We found out that wasn't the case. I'm trying not to spoil. I'm giving vague spoilers, not specifics. We saw that huge twist with Solus. And then another reason why I don't think... I have thoughts, guys, and I'm trying to condense this as low as I can, like, so it's not an hour-long video. But it does lore correction and revealing mysteries in a really well-done way. All throughout your experience in Inquisition, you're going to be going in underground tombs, and especially in Earl Graves, and just, you're learning so much about these races and these groups of people that we've gotten close to and learned about through the previous games and the books and the comics. And now we're kind of seeing we're being confronted with what happens when those really dangerous assumptions turn out to be wrong. And I think that's a really valuable lesson because, you know, everyday life in real world, we're constantly making assumptions. Sometimes they're correct, sometimes they're not, but sometimes when they're incorrect, they can be really damaging. And we definitely see that in Inquisition. I feel like the boss fight was very lackluster. I remember when we finally were able to confront Corypheus at the very end, I was very surprised that it was over so quickly. I think it was climactic in the way that it's set up, like the entire Skyhold raises to the ground and raises from the ground, and you're having this big aerial fight, and you're separated from the rest of your people, and it's you and your small team. You don't have your troops that you thought you were going to have. You don't have your allies like you thought you were going to have. It's you and your tiny little party. And that was cool. And there's layers to the final boss fight, but I still felt it was a little bit too condensed, and I felt like it was a little bit too easy. Maybe that's just me. But I did like finally putting him in the ground because we killed him in Dragon Age 2, and he obviously didn't stay dead. And we learn how he came back in Inquisition. That's another side quest. You get to see the Grey Wardens again. You can either choose to save them, save the Order, or disband them permanently. There's a huge story arc with the Grey Wardens, which I think for me as an Origins fan, that appealed to me greatly because I missed the Wardens. We saw a small snippet of the Wardens in Dragon Age 2, very small, a little bit bigger if you bring Anders with you into the Deep Roads mission, but not really much about the Greys, you know what I mean? And so to have them come back in such a full capacity, really setting up for the future of the games too. I have a hard time seeing how that's not fascinating. Here's the thing too, a lot of people think that just because they like Mass Effect, they're gonna like Dragon Age. And I will say, as much as I absolutely adore Mass Effect, you guys know, it is a very different beast than Dragon Age. Dragon Age is for the lore lover. Dragon Age is for the philosopher. Dragon Age is for the fantasy connoisseur. Mass Effect is for the RPG lover. Mass Effect is for the excitement lover. Mass Effect is for the fantasy sci-fi lover. It has almost two completely, while there are similarities, for the most part, it feels like it's targeting two very different audiences. And while many people love both franchises, I've noticed a lot of people that really felt attached to Mass Effect didn't necessarily have that same attachment to Dragon Age, and that's because it's just different audience type. But I feel like with Dragon Age, if you're going to play it, you need to know that going in, that it is a very lore focused game. And if you know that, then doing the side quests and things like that isn't going to feel as daunting because you're going to know there's a purpose. Every side quest, fucking Druffalo. I just wanted to kill, fuck that Druffalo. I said it. I said what I said. Fuck that Druffalo. But most of the side quests have the actual meeting and tie in a meaningful way. And then you can learn a different subclass, you know, further along in the game. Once you're in Skyhold, you can choose, like, for me, I love going the Knight Enchanter route, but depending on what class you choose, it can change up from whatever you want. And I think that's something that's really interesting because it expands the Dragon Age experience far beyond what we've seen before. Origins did a really good job of expanding that combat experience, especially if you wanted to learn other skills, but it didn't quite hit that mark in the way that Dragon Age Inquisition did. And the Inquisitor was constantly growing. Their skills were growing, their tools in their belt were growing. There was a lot of customization options available to really make you feel like you're immersed in the universe. And there was just so many aspects of Inquisition. But I feel like if you go into it, know that the Hinterlands is like 2% of the game. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or really not vibing with it, wait until you get out of there. Because honestly, in my personal opinion, I hate everything pre-Skyhold. So when you first start out in Dragon Age Inquisition, you're actually in a place called Haven, which you'll remember from previous games, especially with Liana. But you'll be in Haven, and just, I don't know, something about the setup, maybe it's because I hate snow, but it's all snow. Something about the setup just never really appealed to me. Anytime I go back into the game, I can't wait to get out of Haven, which the whole process of getting out of Haven is, talk about a booty clencher, like holy shit. But once you get to Skyhold, to me, that's where the story really picks up. But the thing is, and that's the pacing issue, is getting to that point, there's a lot of shit that happens. You know, you got the Hinterlands, and then you gotta get Iron Bull, and then you gotta get Sarah, and then you gotta go to Val Royale, and then you gotta go with Dorian, and then you gotta, you know, if you pick the mages, you gotta go with Dorian in the future. If you pick the Templars, then you gotta go through the Nightmare Realm. And there's just a lot of shit that happens. There's a lot of gameplay that happens before you get to Skyhold. So you could be looking at like 20 hours before you even get to the meat of the game, which is an issue. And that's a pacing thing. And that's something that the narrative designers and the level designers, I feel like they could have been a little bit more conscientious about that. But this is also during a time where there was a lot of issues going on behind the scenes in relation to EA and BioWare leadership, and people were leaving, people were returning, and there was just a lot of things happening, and a lot of things that the team was wanting to do for Dragon Age 2 never got done. Therefore, the ideas kind of shifted in terms of where the company goes. And I think that you kind of see that, but a lot of the critique that I see about Inquisition, that mindset changes infinitely if you keep in mind that the Hinterlands don't last forever. All of the different biomes are very different. The Western approach looks very different than the Graves. The Graves look very different. I mean, just it all looks very different. I think that's great. And you can ride, like, I love the Western approach, or especially at nighttime, just riding your horse around. It's really peaceful. I enjoyed it. Throw on some lo-fi tunes and just de-stress. But I think that a lot of the pacing issues and things like that really does detract. But if you know going in those issues, it's easier to keep them in your mind and kind of work around it, which you shouldn't have to do for a game. But I found doing that, because I really loved my first time with Inquisition. I didn't have the critiques, but I also really loved Dragon Age 2. And for me, seeing Varric again, I was like, it's Varric, he's back. And then seeing Corypheus, I was like, that motherfucker. And then, you know, hearing about Carver, seeing Connor, seeing Fiona again, and especially after reading the book that she's in, of learning how she's Alistair's mom. Seeing Alistair, if you have Alistair as your warden, seeing Alistair, and if he was the one that impregnated Morgan, seeing that moment when they reconnect and Morgan introduces Alistair to his son, it's just magic, man. It's just magic. And I gotta give an ode to Dorian Pavis. I know I keep saying I'm in love with this character, but this entire game franchise's history has been centered around, you know, the evils of Thetis, and a big part of that was Tevinter. And Dragon Age 2 really made us despise Tevinter with how Fenris's master treated him. It was very much alluded that he was sexually assaulted on top of the other abuses of what a slave is expected to endure. Never mind the fact that he was embedded with lyrium, which the pain was so intense it wiped away his memories prior to the ritual. So we already had this ingrained hatred for Tevinter. So lo and behold, Dorian just rolls up from Tevinter as an Altus, and we learn about the Society of Tevinter, which we learn about a lot in the magazines, in the comics and the books. But this is the first time we were really able to explore it as a game, which is also set up for Dragon Age 4, which is set in Tevinter and Ativa. We get to finally go to these places that we've heard so much about. I have an article about that too, if you if you're interested, plug, plug, plug. But his character arc is very much, so he's gay. And I love what he brings to the table, because in Tevinter, homosexuality is very looked down upon. If you're high society, it's very much like monarch type thing. And adults don't marry for love. They marry for kids. They marry for their legacy. And they breed their children to be perfect in the hopes that they become the next Archon, which is the leader of all of Tevinter. Ow, age sucks. I don't know if you heard that pop. Fuck. Getting older sucks, man. But yeah, so you kind of learn about this really clinical way that Tevinter society runs. And obviously, if there's such a big focus on that, then you can't be gay, because you can't procreate if you're gay, if you're gonna have those inclinations, those shameful inclinations. Then it needs to be done behind closed doors, or use a sex slave while you're married to your wife. Get her knocked up, pop out a baby. That baby is unsatisfactory, then you pop out another baby. Problem solved. Well, Dorian was like, no, I want to live life for me. I want to be happy. I want to find love. I want to forge my own path. And he does that. And when he goes to the south, you can, if you're a male inquisitor, you can romance him. If you keep him an Iron Bull in your party at all times, you can, and you don't romance either one of them, they can actually get in a really adorable, and there's like a tag for it, adory, like Dorian Bull. So cute. Love it. They can actually get in a relationship, which is amazing when you think about the hardships that Tevinter has against Khanari and the Qun, because they're constantly at war, especially Saharan, which we learned in Dragon Age 2. Please play the other 2 games before giving Inquisition a chance. I can't say that enough. But it's just great. And then, you have this really heart-wrenching moment where you confront his father. The Inquisitor goes with Dorian to confront his father, and his father's asking for forgiveness. That's where we found out that he actually tried blood magic to change Dorian, which could have killed him, could have left him a vegetable. And that betrayal was too much for Dorian and actually drove him out of Tevinter. And, and that's such a relatable story for so many. I know many people that when they came out to their parents were not receptive, kicked them out of the house, beat them. It's a story that many can relate to. And to see that accurately portrayed, the writer of of Dorian is a gay man, so it's not some fetishized fan fiction. It's personal experience, man. And I think that's really beautiful, because I will never know what it feels like to be, a gay man that is in that position. And so for me, I love to learn different perspectives. I love to learn. I'm a knowledge soak sponge. Like, I am constantly putting so many degrees, it's not even funny. I put myself through so many training programs. I just want to learn as much as I can. That's just how I am. I want to hear your story, whether I agree with you or not. I want to hear your story. I want to hear your perception of the world. Like, share that with me. And that's like the greatest gift to me. And so to me, like, Dorian's path was beautifully done, and learning about Iron Bull and how much your choices do impact things. If you don't do his mission in a certain way, nay, we're not going to go there, because that's a huge spoiler, but keep that in your noggin, because shit gets weird. But that's Dragon Age Inquisition. I have played it so many fucking times, and I'm still learning new things. It didn't take me till my 4th time playing that I even found Connor. Like, this game is meant to be explored and enjoyed at your own pace. And if you give it the diligence it deserves and the diligence that it was designed around, I think you're going to get a lot more out of it. But I really do urge you, please play Dragon Age Origins and Awakening. Please play Dragon Age 2. If you haven't played Dragon Age 2, I would recommend watching my video before, because there's a few things you need to know first. Caveats. And some studio history as well. But I think that overall, a lot of the critique about it is valid. The pacing issues, a little bit too much filler content. It should have done a little bit more to guide the player. But a lot of the critique is also just circumstance, not playing the first 2 games because people keep telling you to not, which is so bad. And not realizing that there's so much more than Hinterlands, because it really does look like that's all the game is if it's your first time playing. So that was my thoughts of Dragon Age Inquisition. I hope that helps. I hope that's what you guys were asking for. We'll do a Dragon Age Origin one in a little bit, but I don't want to have like back-to-back Dragon Age stuff, as much as I would love that. But yeah, so that is why I think Dragon Age Inquisition doesn't get the credit it deserves. And that is also just talking about some of the feedback too and the criticisms, because there are valid criticisms. Do away with the word. I hope the next Dragon Age does not have the fucking war table missions. Oh, that drove me nuts. If you're interested, if you look up the Dragon Age 4 tag on Game Informer, I wrote a big feature talking about how I'm pretty sure we're getting a Mortalitasi companion, which is something we learned with Cassandra's story arc. I also think that Solus is responsible for red lyrium, and I think he purposely infected himself. Fan theories, let's dive in. You can check that over there. If you are interested in a video format of either one of those, I'm happy to oblige as well. But I'm excited because I think that Mass Effect Legendary Edition is opening up so many new players to the worlds that BioWare has built, and I'm seeing more people inquire about Dragon Age Inquisition. So I'm hoping this kind of context helps a little bit. This video ran way longer than I meant it to be. This is my lunch break. Whoops. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will link some stuff down below if you like this channel. I'm gonna do the YouTuber thing, even though I'm not a YouTuber. Like and subscribe. Did I do it right? Do I have like the flair? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Do any of us really though? Like, do we? I don't know. I don't think so. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great day. Sound off with your thoughts below about Inquisition or anything Dragon Age related, or just say hi. Hi. Hi back. Thank you guys, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.